Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit here, back again with My Hero Academia Season 4. We're on episode 15 and the show is back officially. So, if for those of you that didn't see my posts that I put on YouTube, Discord, Patreon, whatever, the dub for the My Hero Academia was essentially put back to another week. So obviously it was a week behind before, now it's 2 weeks behind. The reason for that was, I think it was down to the coronavirus or something. Materials from Japan weren't able to be sent over to Funimation or whatever, so they didn't have the correct things to be able to make the episode and get it out on time. So now it's at a 2 week sort of, it's behind by 2 weeks, so but it's back on track now. So next week will be episode 16, following week episode 17, so on and so forth. But yeah, so last episode, what happened? Night Eye died, and that was tough. That was a big loss, and for the show as well, that was a huge moment because we haven't had a character death like that, and it's affected some major characters in Deku and Mirio mostly. All Might as well, and I've got some stuff written down here that I didn't actually get to talking about last episode. So first of all, Overhaul's sort of despair was mostly due to his father, so the boss. When he's he's got that sort of agonizing sort of scream that he doesn't have any of his arms, he can't use his quirk, meaning that he can't put back together his father, who he basically put into a coma, so that he wasn't in the way while Chisaki got his sort of work done, and then he was going to bring him back after all of it was all said and done. And something about that is even more tragic. Again, I went into it last episode about how I don't think Overhaul's entirely out yet. There are still ways in which he can come back. Mr. Compress still has his arm, right? He still has his left arm. It hasn't been disintegrated. So if there's a way that he can get that back, or if Eri, if he can somehow use Eri, I don't think Eri would willingly do it, but who knows? There are ways in which he can come back, I think. So I don't think he's entirely out, but still, I thought I'd talk about that a bit more. But it also, maybe it sort of propels Chisaki sort of in a, I had Chisaki down as very sort of selfish and stuff, and he still is, but I feel like I went too far onto one side, and maybe his ideals were a lot more selfless than I first anticipated. Because at the end there, when he realised that he was pretty much screwed, I think he went back to his base ideals, what he really was doing this for. Whereas, a couple episodes prior, he got carried away, which is what his father used to say to him. Sometimes you go too far. I think in that moment when Chisaki realised he was helpless, that he sort of was looking back to what the real reason why he was doing it. And that was a bit more selfless than selfish. So, yeah, very interesting. You guys told me that Snatch was actually compressed with the fire, with Dabi's fire. That's... oh, that sucks. That's nuts. Yeah, they're getting darker with this show. Obviously you didn't see it, but, if that is really what happened, damn, that sucks, man. I think that's pretty much it. So, yeah, I think it's about probably getting back to normal ways again. I'd assume after what happened last episode. It's all about recovering and whatnot, but what I'm really excited for is getting back to my boy Baku and seeing what he's been up to, how he's getting on, because it's been a long time since we've seen Bakugo, and this is the longest I've gone without him, so let's get him back. So yeah, without further ado, we're going to get into episode 15 and see what we get. In the description below, you can obviously go watch the 10-minute edited footage, but if you do want to watch the full length of this episode, then you can do by going over to my Patreon and becoming a full length tier patron. Okay, so go and enjoy that if you wish. But yeah, we're going to get in episode 15 now and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 15. Right, well, Where to begin? So, a lot of Jiro in the opening. Great. I don't know if that has any bearing on like the arc at all. I mean, I would love it if Jiro got like more screen time and everything because, you know, she's my favorite girl. I feel like we're obviously going to get more of Bakugo because he hasn't been in, you know, a lot of season 4. You know, with obviously doing the makeup examinations and stuff. Same goes for Todoroki as well. Which we're definitely going to be getting next episode, I feel like. But yeah, there was a lot of Jiro in that opening. So I don't know. I mean, it could be just a case for this arc being a bit more sort of happy-go-lucky, and it's like obviously not as serious as the last one. That being said, though, we've got a new character in the mix, a new villain by the name of Gigantomachia. Now, we saw him in Kirishima's backstory, a flashback or whatever, in episode 8, I think 9. It's one of those, isn't it? Because he said the exact same thing, that everything was for his master, right? That's the same dude. I also think we saw him at one point, because I recognised the radio. I think we saw him back... Was it just after Stain? When they were cultivating like all of the villains and stuff, like Toga and Darby and stuff. I'm sure he was one of them. Because I remember like in the woods, there was the radio that was like sitting down, and there was a guy that had similar hair to that. I didn't think he was this fucking big though. I mean, that's huge. He's like taller than trees and stuff. He wasn't that big in Kirishima's flashback. So I don't know if he can like do it at will or what. Like if he can, you know, grow bigger and whatnot. But it's interesting. He claimed that he was, whoever Gigantomachia is a direct subordinate of All for One, and that if Kurogiri couldn't protect Shigaraki, there was a better option, or there was another option in terms of this guy. So I mean, I guess he's got to be. I mean, look at the size of him. First of all, I don't know how you deal with that. To be honest, I mean, a good one for all punch maybe, but I mean, it looks like he's also made of rock as well. At least his big chin, anyway. But that's insane. I mean, well, I was going to say like it could come down to like Kirishima, like a fight again, but I mean, we've had a lot of Kirishima in this last arc. Again, though, this could be just a thing of like setting up something for the future. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be within this season that he becomes like a major villain. You know, because with the last season, it was relatively like the same. Like the first half was like this epic sort of build to the battle with All Might and All for One and stuff previously in the camp where they faced off against the Vanguard Action Squad and whatever. And then the second half was just provisional license exam, which was a bit more, you know, like I say, like happy-go-lucky. So it could be a similar thing that they're going, like a similar route that they're going with this. Like we've gotten past the arc for this season that was a serious battle, and this one, this is like we're getting, you know, back like acquainted with what Bakugo and Todoroki are doing. And their progress, since we haven't seen them a lot. And yeah, and this whole Gigantomachia thing could just be setting up for something in season 5. But obviously we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, that's what Kurogiri's mission was then. Because yeah, a few episodes ago, we had Shigaraki talking about how I can't lend out Kurogiri because he's on a mission doing something else, where this is what he was doing. He was looking for Gigantomachia. Which explains why he's out in the middle of the mountains. So yeah, and that's the thing as well. I find it interesting, this whole thing of like protecting Shigaraki, as if like he really needs to be protected at this point, because I feel like, considering what he did to Overhaul, I mean, well, let's be honest, he took him out when he was in a vulnerable position, so I suppose it's tough to tell. I do get the feeling though Shigaraki is really like leveling up, so to speak. like getting to the point where he almost doesn't need protecting. Um, but I guess with certain heroes like Endeavor still out there and stuff, that the possibilities always, it's not like Shigaraki's totally matured yet. Like it's not like he's at a point where he can deal with anything and everything. You know what I mean? Like in regards to like leveling up like alongside Deku, I don't know if they're really like what level where they both sit, but even if you were to put him on an even keel with Deku, it's like you wouldn't say Deku is equipped to take on everybody. Like if he went up against All For One, he wouldn't have won. So it's kind of like one of those things where I guess he still hasn't fully matured to the point where he still needs people to sort of protect him and whatnot. And I mean, protect could just be a case of just like this is somebody that we can look to as like an extra ally to have on our team. So we'll see. Right, so we had Mirio as well, who was back to his sort of positive attitude that he's taken on, taken everything that Night Eye set to heart, and of course, a smile and whatnot, which of course ties in heavily with All Might and being that sort of symbol of peace and having that attitude and that mental attitude that even if even when no one's around and he's on his own, like just to keep yourself in that state is something to just it keeps like the world in balance is what he sort of said that it was, which makes total sense. And like when Mirio was explaining all of that, why he needed to keep being positive and everything like that, it was interesting that Deku like obviously saw that, and then he immediately flashed back to when Night Eye was saying that what you have the strength to become a symbol, but like not the, what was the quote? Anyway, in regards to what it was, it means that Deku already is sensing that, like, in terms of somebody who is always there, like who is in the right frame of mind to become a symbol of peace, is that Mirio's already there. Like he's already in that spot. So, and then like on the opposite, you have Deku, who is like suffering with regret and like, if I did this, or like if you'd gotten the power, then like it's like, I feel like in order to become a symbol of peace and take over the reign, like the fact that it's supposed to be Deku's turn to be that symbol of peace, that he needs to get over this idea that like I don't think regret is one of those things that he really should have. Or if he does have it, not show it, which is something that I feel like that's obviously what Deku is lacking in, and clearly he knows it, because by flashing back and reliving what Night Eye told him about that, and realizing that Mirio's in a better place, like clearly Deku understands that, and that's why he even offered, if I can give you one for all, will you take it? It definitely, I mean, it's a big thing to say as well, I think, for Deku, for somebody who always wanted the power that ended up getting it, and from his hero as well, from All Might, to just give it away for the sake of the betterment of the world. Like, it shows where Deku is. Like, not that we need any convincing that Deku, like, wants the world to be safe and at peace and everything like that, and the best way to do that is, what he believes in that moment is, if Mirio were to have it, it would be perfect. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to even see what that would look like as well, because I mean, because then you would have Mirio that you would have to get used to that quirk and everything like that as well, right? Because it's not like, but if he was to give him one for all, that Mirio's quirk wouldn't just suddenly appear again, would it? And it wouldn't just add on to that. At least I don't think so. I mean, I guess it depends on how the gene works, right? Now, if in regards to the bullet that was used to sort of rewind him back before, like to get rid of his quirk, does that mean it got rid of his entire, like, the whole gene regarding his quirk? Because if it is like within there sort of residually, and it's not like activated, or it's not like basically like in like a stasis kind of, then I suppose like the addition of One for All may have like would reactivate it. I mean, all this is incredibly hypothetical and just a theory sort of crafting kind of thing, because I mean he's not going to get One for All, so it doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter. So, but you know, I suppose it's an interesting topic to sort of delve into, I guess. But I like how Mirio did actually, like, well, not Mirio in particular. I mean, obviously he was the one saying it, but I suppose I'm glad that they talked about the idea of Eri getting to a point where she could control her quirk. That if that was the case, that she, you know, that Mirio was like, 'cause I feel like it's real. I feel like if it was completely dismissed and Mirio was like, I don't need my quirk, I feel like it would be an unrealistic sort of, I don't think it would be real to ask that. I feel like it's more of a realistic response to be like, if there is a chance I can get my quirk back, I want it, and I'll do anything that I can, like, sort of like get it back. You know, you wouldn't do anything, you know, like you would, like, for instance, you wouldn't do bad shit to get it back, but you get my point. Because ultimately it all ties back into like helping others. Like I'm at my best because I have my quirk. I can use that to full effect. He's great without his quirk, but he's infinitely better with it. So, you know, it's just like one of those things where I'm glad that they talked about it in the story and brought it up. And that Mirio, he was just straight up and saying like, you know, if it gets to that point where Eri's able to control her quirk, then I'll ask her if she can do this. It's just, you know, it's fantastic. It's also something that's definitely interesting, that like to do with Eri and her quirk, because of the torment and sort of the nature of what she's gone through. I'm not sure if she'll ever get over using her quirk. Like, if she's trained properly, because now she's with the right people. Like, I guess she could go to like UA as like a special case kind of thing, and then like work under, because it seems like they are almost pairing her up with Aizawa, and with Aizawa being a teacher at UA, it would make sense to keep her close at all times. If she can come to UA as a special case and work under Aizawa and everything like that, and learn under like in this school, then it will be the best help that you can get, you know. And I feel like it would be better for everybody. Like, you know, if she's got her quirk regardless, so it's better to be under the right, like the perfect tutelage that you can be, right, in order to make sure that nothing bad goes wrong again. But my point is that I don't know if Eri will ever get over like mentally using her quirk. Like, she may get to a point where she can use it better and with more control, but I wonder if she ever gets to a point where she does have full control, that's still in the back of her mind. She's like, what if something goes wrong? Again, it's like one of those like sort of hypothetical, because I don't know how far this series is willing to go, and I don't see. I mean, let's be honest, it's not in the near future, if that is ever going to happen, that Eri's going to be at that point. So, you know, but it's just one of those things that I'm glad that they sort of brought up. So yeah. So yeah, also with Deku suffering with regret, you also had Ochako that was suffering with regret as well. And I actually watched a video in regards to Ochako. I didn't watch it all because it got to a point in the video where it says, right, this is for like manga spoilers, chapter 250 something or whatever the hell, which, you know, I don't know where that would line up in terms of the timeline of where we are in the anime, but I think it's past that. But I didn't risk it anyway. I didn't obviously watch past that point. But basically, it was like, I think the video was called "The Problem with Uraraka" or something like that. And you know, he goes on to like explain how she's a great character up until sort of season 3, where her focus shifts from her goal and her drive to be a hero for, you know, for monetary value, but because so that she can help like her parents and stuff like that. And when her goal sort of shifts and it becomes more of a like, she becomes more of a character for a love interest for Deku, she hasn't shined really since, considering how how high up in the list she was as a character who is able to like be a badass and like go out and do stuff, and I feel like her focus should remain on her goal of getting to that point, because whilst every like other class member, of course, like you can, you know, some that don't get like a lot of screen time, like obviously haven't, but she's like a main character in terms of like class 1A, relatively. Like when you're talking about the female students that are, you know, like up there in terms of like closer to main character status, then you're talking about Sue. Ochako really would probably be higher than Sue. And I feel like and you know, with that video, like, I mean, I was thinking about this beforehand anyway, but that kind of cemented my like thought process on the whole Uraraka thing, which is that I feel like since it becomes anytime she's on screen she's thinking about Deku, I feel like it's shifting a bit much. I guess it is sort of realistic in a sort of sense where, like, you know, when you are that age, it feels like all of your focus, and you know, if you're at school or whatever, like, you don't focus on your work or anything like that, you just focus on this, you know, on this other person. So I guess it's realistic, but I would just like to see her, you know, like, carry on this whole the nature that she was in season 2. Like, I want to see that, like when she was up against Bakugo and stuff, you know. So I would like to see that. And maybe this is the perfect like sort of conduit to making her do that. Like this whole situation that she's been brought into, like, you know, the likes of Deku dying when Night Eye was like, you know, this is what I've seen. Ochako never give up. Now, whether it was strictly for Deku or not, I feel like this event could be a great conduit to put her back on track in that regard. I mean, the thing is with this show is that I don't think there are, like, it's not needing of any romantic shit going on. It doesn't really need it at this point. It's something that can obviously be, like, you know, maybe focused upon at some point. But because they're in school and it's kind of, it's a bit more of a serious kind of thing now that they get through these, you know, they go through school and they learn and they do their best and focus on doing that they do that first. If it ever wanted to be like a romantic love interest kind of story thing going on, I'd prefer for it to kind of be less obvious with Ochako, you know what I mean? Like, she can still like have, like, you know, those kind of feelings for her, but I kind of just want it to be a bit more less obvious, you know. That's just me though, but, you know, let me know what you think in the comments. I like the Bakugo and Todoroki were actually worried about their classmates as well. They were there for, you know, a like split second before, you know, Todoroki went off to obviously answer the phone call, which was obviously from Endeavor. His dad. And then Bakugo was there as well. And then as soon as he was, you know, he found out that they were all right, he was like, right, I'm going to bed. But, you know, that's just Bakugo's way. He's not going to come out and like openly like give them hugs and affection and shit like that, you know. But you know, I think one of them was curiosity with Deku. I think mostly he was there for Kirishima though. Like, that's how that, you know, I mean Kirishima's his mate, isn't it? But of course it's for, like, you know, all that kind of classmates. Bakugo's just that way inclined, so that's just, you know, it's great. Yeah, so the Gigantomachia guy, he actually had an OST on his own, which you know, if you know me, you know I like talking about the music in the show and stuff, especially for this show because it's got fantastic music. There's just no debate in that. Like, the show's music is unreal, and they've always had really good villain music, from, you know, the straight up like sort of like League of Villain music that they had, the All for One's theme. You have the Vanguard Action Squad theme, which is fucking awesome. Overhaul's theme's amazing. So all the villain themes are great. And this one seems like it fits them perfectly from what I heard. Obviously, like, you've got dialogue going over the front of it, and the music's in the background, but it felt like very erratic and visceral and very... I think it fits the nature of somebody who is just like a fucking wild sort of like creature in the middle of nowhere, where it's not like Overhauls, where it's like it's like you know, it's like bassy, but it's like controlled and whatnot, whereas, you know, this one just seemed like very like erratic and stuff, you know, like a bit like crazy instruments were used almost, from what I heard anyway. I would like to be able to hear it in you know, just like its full form, but they don't have like all of the soundtracks on YouTube anyway yet for season 4. I really want the one that they use for the Shihei Saikai. They use it like mostly when they're bringing up you know, when they bring up like, oh, it's this person, his quirk, whatever, and you've got like President Mike talking in the background. There was one in particular for the guy who basically like tells people, like asks people a question and they tell them, in Lemillion's episode. I don't know what the fucking, you know, but if you know what that soundtrack is, then let me know, because I really like that one. We also have Kami, who is the real one at this point. I mean, it's got to be, right? I mean, I think it's definitely, you know, it's not going to be Himiko again. It just isn't, is it? So yeah, so she's turned up. So thank God that she's all right, because there was like a moment where it's like, well, what the fuck happened to her then? You know, where did she get her blood from? It'd be interesting if she talks about it and she, you know, like that's something she talks about. I feel like it would be something that they brought up, but I don't know. We'll see. And yeah, and that's that. And I also like the ending as well. Like looking at like what seemed to be the youth of everybody, like all of the from everyone from the like the heroes, because you had All Might in there. They also had villains in there. They had Toga at one point. I recognise her, which was interesting. They also had, I think, some Shihei Saikai people in there as well. I think I recognised Chrono. Who was it? Chrono Trigger? What? No, it's not Chrono Trigger, is it? It's Chrono, right? I think I recognise him in one of them, but I don't know. I'll have to go back through and just and have a look and then see what see what's what with that. But yeah, I mean, that's all I've got for this episode. So thank you everyone for watching. Again, if you do want to watch this in full, then you can do by going over to my Patreon and becoming a full tier patron. There's also early access there for $5 a month, so if you want that as well, you can go over there. Obviously, all of the links for that is in the description. There's tiers on there where you can pay to have a certain show reacted to as well. So if you want me to react to a show, then, you know, go have a look at those tiers and see what they offer. And there's also a link to Discord as well. So if you want to get on there, then you can do, and whatnot. So yeah, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.